Hi, everybody. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT. Before we jump into today's episode, just a reminder that it is that time of year again in which the Tapping World Summit is about to happen over the course of 10 or 11 days. There are presentations by over 25 of the best change work professionals in the world. It is all absolutely free. If you'd like to get information on the Tapping World Summit and get notifications as those instructional audios are posted, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/TWS, tappingqa.com/TWS. That stands for Tapping World Summit. And as a reminder, the Tapping World Summit is absolutely free. But if you do end up using that link and you do end up purchasing something at the end of it, I do get an affiliate commission from that. But note, I wouldn't be sharing this with you if I didn't think it was valuable. Even if I was not receiving an affiliate commission, I would still be pointing you in the direction of the World Summit. It's a great opportunity to really get some amazing instruction so that you can get more out of your tapping practice. Once again, tappingqa.com/TWS. This is Gene Montrastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live today from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 428, originally aired February 5th, 2020. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we are going to talk about how to get the most out of visualization with your tapping so that you can actually make your visualization more powerful, make your tapping more powerful, and do it in a way that is useful. Because as you will hear, most people who teach visualization actually teach it in a way that is making it harder for you to be successful instead of making it easier for you to be successful. Before we do that, I just want to send a big thank you to all of the supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. These are people who have chosen to financially support the work that enables you to continue to get this podcast free every single week. One of the things that we do with that support is we take 10% of that money and we lend it out to small business owners throughout the world through an organization called Kiva. Kiva is an amazing microloan organization. And the really cool thing is, after the money, it's not just given away, it's loaned to these small business owners. They build their businesses, they pay it back. And when it gets paid back, then there's the opportunity to loan it out again. So this month, I actually got to support 6 different businesses because of the support from listeners just like you. The one that I just wanted to highlight was Rosa. Rosa is a 63-year-old woman in Ecuador, and the money she is using from her loan is to buy a new seed kit. She grows rice with her partner, and this is an opportunity for them to be able to improve the quality of their harvest because their goal is ultimately to own their own land. And so when you support the Tapping Q&A podcast, not only are you ensuring that people all over the world get these amazing tapping resources for free, and we get the opportunity to support small business owners as well, and you also get a bunch of bonuses. So if you want to support the podcast like many of our other great supporters, just go to tappingqa.com/support. And once again, thank you to our supporters. I have a feeling today, as we talk about visualization, I am going to, say something that you might not necessarily agree with that is going to run counter to your practice. And so I am sharing from you my disposition and how I approach this stuff. The most important thing to do when tapping is to take a look at what works for you. And if it's working, keep doing it. And if it's not working, try something else. So a number of years ago, I published an article on the website in which I called The Great Visualization Hoax. And that was a little bit of a clickbaity title. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to really lean into and challenge this notion that we have around visualization. Because in a lot of the visualization law of attraction world, the idea is if you just sit there and you imagine having these wonderful things, the universe is going to conspire and bring them towards you. And I don't buy into that. It just doesn't seem logical to me. And one of my favorite quotes about that, I think it was credited to Tony Robbins. I don't know if that's the case, but the sentiment is true. So I appreciate that. And the idea is if you sit in your living room imagining good things coming towards you, something will come. It will be the repo man. And just because I didn't think this was something that was useful and other people did, doesn't mean that I just believe myself. I went and did a little research to see if I could find any research on visualization. And in poking around, the research that had been done led to the fact that visualization, actually just seeing yourself having something, demotivates you. And so here is a quote from an article I found as I was doing research. During the course of 4 experiments, Kappes and Oettingen demonstrated that conjuring positive fantasies of success drain the energy out of ambition. When we imagine having reached what we want, our brains fall for the trick. Instead of mustering more energy to get there, we inadvertently trigger the relaxation response that mimics how we would feel if we had actually reached the goal. Physiologically, we slide into our comfy shoes, blood pressure lowers, heart rate decreases, all is well in the success world of our mind's making. The research also uncovered that the more pressing the need for success, the more deflating positive visualization became. And so what that's basically saying is, if we visualize having something because we now feel like we have it, we just don't do anything about it. And so if you just sit around having the image in your head that this is what I have, you feel good in the moment. You know, I've done visualizations lots of times where I feel really great after doing them, but it doesn't actually change your life. It just changes the way that you feel in the moment. And if we are demotivating ourselves, then we're less likely to have things come towards us, because even if we are in a circumstance where we're recognizing coincidence and grace and the universe conspiring around us, we still have to be taking action. Things don't just magically show up in our bank account. We have to do something. Now, again, when we're doing particular things, it's easier for us to recognize opportunity. So it's easier to seize those great things that are happening. But if there's not a way for us to actually take action, then we're not moving forward. So instead, what I would like to present with you right now is 4 ways that you can use visualization in order, with your tapping, to increase your chances of being successful and moving forward. So it's not visualization as itself is a bad idea, but simply visualizing having success is not going to get us there. So number 1, the first way that I like to use visualization in trying to get myself to my goals is I envision someone else having the success that I want. And that could be someone I know, someone I follow on social media, someone I know exists in the world, or I could just imagine someone else having the success. And as I imagine them having the success, and as I imagine them navigating the world, what I then do is pay attention to how I feel. Do I feel jealousy? Do I feel inferior? Do I feel insecure? And when I see someone else having success and I pay attention to my emotional response, that gives me some really amazing things for me to tap on. So when I'm doing this, I'm tapping while I'm doing the visualization and I'm taking note of these emotions. Then one at a time, I tap on these emotions, because I know that if I'm working from a place of lack of insecurity or jealousy, it's hard for me to take consistent action. And so this is a great way for me to uncover that. Number 2 is I imagine myself living my life with this success. And what that means is I don't just imagine myself having it, like it's like I now have X number of clients, X number of dollars, a particular relationship. Instead, what I do is I see myself living with the success day to day. What does it look as I navigate my world? What does the place that I live look like? How do I feel as I work through the day, as I'm engaging with this success or not? And again, I'm tapping while I'm doing this visualization, and I'm paying attention to the emotions that are arising inside of me. And so it's less about the visualization, and it's more about, do I feel comfortable? Do I feel worthy? Do I feel secure? Because if I feel insecure of success, or if I feel unworthy of success, then I'm going to sabotage myself and make sure I don't have that success. So it becomes a way of keeping me safe. And so by doing this tapping, I'm making taking action and being successful something that is also emotionally safe. The third type of visualization I do is I visualize as I navigate the world, feeling this and experiencing this. I'm paying attention to how the people around me respond. And I'm paying attention in 2 ways. One is I kind of imagine what their body language is as I interact with them. But I also pretend that I can hear what they're thinking as they see me with this success. And I do this with everybody who is the least connected to me, someone I see in a coffee shop occasionally, to the people who are most connected to me, people I live with, my family, my partner, whoever those people are. Because if we're in a circumstance where we are recognizing negative emotional responses from the people around us with our success, we're not going to take action. I mean, the clearest example of this I have is I was working with a client one time when we were doing weight release, and she said, I have heard how my friends talk about skinny people. And if I lose weight, they're going to say those horrible things about me. And so her having success, she could see really negative, tangible consequences for that because she was going to be attacked by her friends. And so when we do this visualization, we're tapping while we're doing it. And as we see the emotional responses of the people around us, we're tapping on that and we make note of it. And we can just say, hey, people feel jealous of me. This relation is going to struggle. And if that's going to be the case, I'm going to prevent action. So by tapping on that, I'm going to clear the way for me to be successful. The fourth type of visualization that we can do that is going to help us to actually be more successful is while tapping, I visualize myself working towards my goal. I visualize myself bumping into obstacles. I visualize myself solving the problem and getting past the obstacle and then being successful. Because the studies have shown that if we visualize ourselves getting over obstacles, we're training ourselves to believe it is possible to do that. And we're not worried about things going wrong. We're like, oh, I can do this. And this is true even if we are visualizing obstacles which aren't the actual obstacles we encounter. So I visualize somebody saying no, and in the real world, I run into an obstacle where I don't have access to a resource that I want. But I've already trained myself to know when obstacles come up, I can get past them. It's just like the fire drills we used to do as kids in school. I was in my grade school when I was in 4th or 5th grade, there was a fire. It wasn't a big fire. It was a very small fire. But 500 little kids got out of the school without a problem, even though there was smoke, even though fire trucks showed up. None of us were scared because we had practiced doing it. And so when the alarm went off, we just went about our day and navigated what was going on. And so if you visualize yourself getting over obstacles and then being successful, it motivates you to take action. And so if we're tapping, we supercharge it. So the four, again, 1, see others being successful. Visualize that while we're tapping and pay attention to our emotions. 2, don't just visualize having the success. Visualize what your daily life looks like as you have the success. Pay attention to those emotions. 3, as you imagine having success, pay attention to the emotional responses of the people around you and how that impacts you, tapping on all of those. And 4, visualize yourself bumping into obstacles, getting over those obstacles, and having success. If you do any of those 4 or all 4 of these ideas with your visualization is going to be more powerful because you're going to be clearing the emotional blocks. Your tapping is going to be more powerful because you're using the visualization to find those underlying issues. And so by merging these two together in this way, it's going to make it so much easier for you to be successful. I do this every single morning with my to-do list. I just imagine myself doing the things that are on there and getting through it. And it makes my day so much easier so that when things go wrong, I just respond and deal with it. So I hope you find those tips and approaches to visualization useful. If you have any questions about that, I'd love to hear it. I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. If you're on the website, click on the contact link. If you're in the Tapping Q&A app, which is free for both Android and Apple devices, just hit the contact link in there. You can send me an email or a voice message inside of the app. If you know someone in your life who would really appreciate something like this, pass it along. Don't spam your inbox and send it to everybody in the world. But if you make a recommendation to a friend, the most likely way someone finds a new resource is because of that recommendation. We don't find great things on our own, but the people in our lives pointing us to that. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Tapping Q&A podcast. Everywhere you get audio, you can get the Tapping Q&A podcast. And even though we use the word subscribe like we would use subscribe for Netflix, it's free. It doesn't cost you any money. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher. Basically, everywhere you find audio, you can find the Tapping Q&A podcast. And I would really encourage you to step into the Tapping Q&A podcast archive. Just go to tappingpodcast.com. There's actually over 460 audios waiting there for you. Instruction like this, tap along audios, interviews with some of the best change work professionals in the world, all absolutely free. There is almost 11 years worth of audio there. Our anniversary is coming up next month. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.